Hi, everybody. So, I decided to do this little series where I talk about each of the songs that I wrote on my second album, Original Game, for you to discover a little bit of behind the scenes things, everything music wise, production wise, how that came up, as well as the lyrics and what the song's about. So let's get started with song number one, Face Up. I might as well start by showing the amazing artwork that the four artists who contributed on my album did. So I know these are going to be looking upside down, but you can see. So this is the card by Alex Bell. This is the series of photos that were done by me and photographer Philip Faith. This is the art done by Audrey Desrosiers, and this was done by Émilie Léger. So, yeah, song number one, Face Up. Face Up is basically, I did this whole like diva showgirl fantasy, falling in love with like this other person in the show business. I was inspired by this spark of lust I got about someone in particular at the time that I wrote it. But, you know, it's also, in the end, it transforms and can apply to other crushes I might have had. And so basically, it's about just this lust and this love and celebrating the lust and the love that you feel when you just have that, you know, passion rising within you of like falling in love with someone. And I wanted it to be very cabaret. It's the jazz song of the record more than in any other. And it started the album just the way that I was writing it. It was very it made sense for it to begin the album because it sort of like introduced the whole feeling of desire that was going to be the theme throughout the entire album. So yeah, when we arranged it, it was clear to me that it was going to be minimal. Like it was clear to me that there would be no guitar on it, and then I was kind of figuring out, okay, how do we kind of make it rise and rise and rise and rise and coming to this like culmination point of like, you know, the intro of this whole album. So we recorded the Wurlitzer, then we had the jazz drums down. We put in some super simple yet very groovy jazz bass on it. Then we have the drums come back so as to really lock in the jazz feeling of it. And then the funny story about it is that when the time came for the mixes, at some point the engineer who was working on the album called me. Well, I was supposed to go in the studio anyway. And then when I got in the studio, he was like, okay, Alex, so all the songs, everything's going super well, but we have one problem. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what's the problem? Like, what? You know, it's like when you're almost like 3 years in a project and then sound engineer's like, there's a problem. I'm like, what? Like, so basically, tea. I love tea. So basically, he said, "All right, well, all the songs are going super well, but Face Up, I have done everything that is within my knowledge to try and figure out how to raise it, but I can't. So I don't know what we're gonna do about this song. You tell me." And then he was like, "I thought about putting in brass, but I'm really not sure." And then we'd have to bring in like a brass player of some kind. And at that point, I was like, no. I was like, I'm done bringing people in the studio. We're past that point. And I mean, I would really, really, really love eventually to get brass players in for my live shows. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Oh my God. But that being said, at that point in the production process, it would just, I couldn't, we weren't going to be going back to recording. We were done recording. We had been done recording a few months before, and this was the mixing process. And I was like, we're just gonna figure this out. So he had me listen. He was like, this is like a tentative little sax thing that I put there, like with keyboards. So you tell me what you think. And then, you know, I know a sax player that could come back. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And then he had me listen to what he had done. And I was like, I see where you're going. I understand where we're missing something in the song, but this is not, we're not going to do that. It's not going to be, we're not going to be bringing in one more person. We're not going to be spending another month waiting for this to get done because we have to bring a brass player and we're going to figure this out. And then I just like took a couple of seconds and I was like, I'm going to put in some B3 organ. And at that point I had just gone back from from the trip I did in Europe last year, and my dad lives in France, and he pretty much built his career on like a lot of his career is like built on what he could do with a B3 organ on a song. He's like one of the major players out there. So I channeled that. I decided to channel that. So I was like, okay, find me a decent B3 organ sound, and let's see what comes up. And I really can't say that I've played that much B3 organ in my life. So that was kind of my first time, not my first time, but it was like, I'm not like my dad is like, and then I'm like starting. So point is that I just recorded and I did 3 tracks, like at specific, well, basically in the choruses of the song and then in some instrumental parts. And what you hear on the album is pretty much like my second takes, like the song really didn't need that much, but it just needed that one touch here and there to make it rise. So we did that, and I was totally in the zone when I did it. It's pretty incredible trying to retell the experiences. Like I was just there in that moment. Everything was like perfectly aligned. That's straight. That wasn't straight. That's straight. And yeah, so it just worked out. And just the sound of the B3 organ itself is what is enough to make anything raise, really. So it was just a matter of like putting it at the right spot. So the engineer ended up mixing that in, and it was perfect. And yeah, he told me, he was like, wow, this is exactly what the song needed. Super impressed with your work. It's done. It's locked in. And then I listened to the mix with it, and I was like, yeah, now we got the song. So yeah, that's pretty much what Face Up is about. It's the startup for this amazing album of desire that just brings in all of the thrill and the fire of what falling in love feels like. So yeah, that's it for Face Up. In the description box, I'm going to put the link where you can buy the song on my Bandcamp and where you can stream it on Spotify and also buy it on iTunes. And despite all of these awesome online streaming and digital platforms, buy this, which is the deck of cards that I made. It's the physical format of original game. It's a pack of cards. I've shown the cards before. It's an awesome product. Buy it. I'm also going to put the link down there. All right. Catch you on the next one. Love ya.